So we
Yep.
have tons of advantages of CMDB. Any disadvantage you think of?
You need to understand that there is that operational cost to it, and that maintenance piece. So the value I feel is always there, and it outweighs the effort it takes to maintain it. But organizations do either need to have a ServiceNow partner kind of act as their CMDB admin, or they need someone who is their CMDB admin internally, who oversees all of the data and kind of chases down the groups that have the highest number of issues, or have a critical thing that need resolving in that CMDB. That does kind of, I guess you could put that in the cons column, because it's adding effort that's required. But again, I think that it definitely outweighs, the effort is outweighed by the value you get out of that from an organization as a whole.
Okay.
In addition to that, maintaining discovery and other projects or products can have high entry costs and then implementation costs on top of it. But you don't have to, again, think of, I need to get to the top of Mount Everest in one day. You can implement one small piece and start seeing value from that one piece. If I can get all my Windows servers in one place, and then I can have enough data to support incident, problem, and change for just Windows servers, that's a win. And then I maintain it. And then I can add another one, and another one, and another one. So try to think of steps in front of you, starting small, continuing small, and then you'll be able to invest less, but see those returns still.
Okay. So implementation planning is also very much important. If we do not do that, it will result in much more drastic way that we think of. We are spending money, infrastructure is there, but still nothing will be helpful.
That's right. And that Now Create methodology will definitely help you implement some of these projects, including CMDB, because they've already got playbooks and customer success artifacts that you can use to see what other people have done to be successful. And they actually also include some pitfalls. So don't avoid this, because this is the impacts of it. So avoid perhaps just a straight data dump, because there's too much in there. Groom the data first, then import it. You don't it's usually not recommended to just turn discovery on and let it comb your entire network. You focus discovery first and pull in a specific piece so that you can test it without the noise, without all the extra data.
Okay. So do you have any kind of, case studies with respect to such experiences available on your website or somewhere?
On mine, no, we've done a lot of partner consulting, so that would be covered under those partner agreements that I have.
Okay.
But I can speak in generic terms and talk about certain clients or certain industries that I've worked with and some of the challenges that they've faced. An example would be that one company was in the telecommunications industry, and they had millions of CIs. And when they were trying to launch and link an incident to a CI, it was taking upwards of 2 minutes to load them all in the choice list on the incident form. So their help desk technicians were suffering, and it was taking, you're sitting with a client on the phone, the server's down, and they have to wait 2 minutes for something to load. So we needed to find a way to make sure that we could load that data quickly, make sure that the call times were getting back to, as fast as they could be, and we were still accurate. So it wasn't about preventing them from loading or having all the choices, but filtering it in a way that they could quickly access the data they needed.
So that time, was it the infrastructure or the amount of data which is causing, or both?
It was the amount of data that was causing ServiceNow performance issues. So the original configuration was they click the magnifying glass on the incident form, and then they would wait for 3.5 million records to load.
Okay.
Versus we filtered that data through a reference qualifier in a way that made sense for them, that weeded out all the data they would never log a record, an incident against, in that one form. And the approach we had to take on the problem form was different than that. So it was a whole journey on how do we manage this as a single issue, So let's say the incident process. How does this impact other processes like ITSM, or sorry, like problem or change? And then how does this impact the platform as a whole? And then how does this impact the business? So the ServiceNow is integrated with a lot of the systems in this case. So we needed to make sure that we were pulling the right data and trusting the data from different sources correctly. So, you know, one data source was not as trustworthy as another one based on their IT teams, that infrastructure team's knowledge. So we had to set it up as a higher trust in the integration settings.
Okay, so the truth is data is increasing day by day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the example which you have shown here with telecommunication client, it will
Yep.
come to each and every client day today, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So, what structural or architectural changes we need to do? Can we have more than one CMDB table or something like that, which you may provision?
Well, in the CMDB, there are just over 800 tables for individual classes. So there's like the Windows Server table, there's a Linux server table, there's router switches, all that stuff. So the framework is there, and the relationship between the tables exists. From
That
the
I know.
vault.
That thing I know. Means, but
Okay.
in a CI for an incident, we only link only one table, right? CMDB CI
Right.
table. So
Well,
how to
and that's
manage that thing?
yeah, so that's where the dynamic reference qualifier solution worked for us. So
Okay.
instead of just loading from the CMDB CI table, we kind of set up different forms with different points to the CMDB, and that reduced a lot of the noise. So we weren't having multiple people querying the whole CMDB every time. In addition to that, the reference qualifiers naturally excluded everything that was retired. So that
Okay.
actually cut 3.5 million CIs down to just over one. So we saw a
Okay.
huge performance increase from that. And that was kind of like, you know, we plugged the hole in the ship with that, and then we still had to get the water out. So we closed the gap on the form and excluded all the retired data. Then we went through and built a trustworthy reference qualifier to help filter it further to improve that performance. Another option that was presented was adding more nodes to ServiceNow, or basically adding more horsepower to it, but that wasn't an option at that time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.